But I thought when Siddharth asked me if I can give this is a new experience I'm dealing with now, how to deal with the social media, how to deal with the trolls. But that was a kind of a challenge. So I put together a story here. I understand that you know much more about social media than I do, but I think I know a little bit more about India, probably about the Indian politics than you do. So I think if you think that I'm trying to experiment too much with the Indian politics, just stop me and I will be happy to explain it if I can. I think put in the context, put in the social media, and I think what you are talking about, the participation or activism, these are all we are looking at in this society of a democratic society, and how the freedom of expression is there and how it relates to this social media and the kind of interest we do have to protect it and to play with it. There is now, we know all time, for the last few years, that this debate and discussions about the democracy in decline. I think I'm old enough to realize there have been a number of times we have gone out saying that democracy has won, democracy has come up, there is a democratic wave has taken place. But now for the last 10, 12 years, we are looking at that the democracies all over the world is declining. The way there was this kind of idea that democracy will prevail all over, that has been taken a hit. So if you look at, I don't think you can really read it, but just to show these things, if you look at these are the countries over 1 million population, and the red color ones whose political rights and civil liberties has gone down than the previous year. So the Freedom House report. So if you look at it, there are 68 countries. Their democracy in decline, 68, where the 50 countries where there is a little going up this. But there was a 2.5 billion population where in the world, which is quite 1/3 of the world's population, they are experiencing this. And out of that 2.5 billion, 1.3 billion belongs to one country, that's India. And India has been a success story of democracy for a long period of time, particularly within the developing countries on the post-colonial period, when many countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, they came up that they played with democracy, but they were not as successful as India had been. So India has been always interest for the democratic theorists all over the world, why it has been successful. But unfortunately, for the last several years, the Indian democracy is showing decline. And if Indian democracy is showing a decline, as I said, 1.3 billion people experiencing this issue. So I think this is where I will try to show that India may be one country, India is one country, but at the same time, because it has 1.3 billion population and 1/6 of the world population, it just changes the whole dynamics of the one country, bringing down the democratic order. Freedom of expression, the democracy is much more than going to election booth, and we did it a few months back in Sweden. There was 3 polling booths in this building, so you could come and vote. That is not only the democracy. And I think it's important to know that the democracy, to succeed, there is a freedom of expression is a fundamental aspect of it. It's the freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference from the public authority. Of course there are restrictions, of course there are certain reasonable field, but you will have the possibility to say whatever you want to say. And that's what is not only the state will interfere, state will also protect you from you from that. And that's, unless that we have, then we don't think the democracy in this modern world will ever succeed. Its freedom of expression is not the only human right. It's a fundamental one. It's not only one of the human rights, because it's connected, it anchors many other human rights. Rights to organize, rights to express, rights to protest, you name it. I mean, without freedom of expression, we do lose lots of fundamental rights, which we do think that it's important for modern day survival, even if we can say so. So I think in the freedom of expression is extremely crucial in a society if we really want to live in a democratic society. Do I sound like a Maoist? But that's a different thing. So freedom of expression, of course, gives special right to the media. It's a media which informs the society, matters of public interest, and creates a platform where a public debate can take place. We can discuss, we can meet, we can argue, we can debate on the issues where we of importance. There used to be the journalists or editors who used to keep this under their control. Of course, it has some positive issues, but some positive side, but it was only some elites in the society where it used to be kept. They were the ones who could control this. They were gatekeeping this. What the information should be given, what the information should be debated, what are the issues which are important, which issues are not important, what do we think is our national values, which are not national values, whether we would like to discuss this or whether we would not like to discuss this. These were the issues where it was important, it was confined to certain media houses, certain editors who could control it. But the social media has completely changed this dynamics. That's not anymore limited to few media house owners or the media house companies, those who are sitting in Stockholm or in somewhere. They can't really control it anymore. The social media has given us the space where any one of us can really make a huge change. I was looking at it, one of the India's best most well-known media personality, or the TV anchors used to be, she was giving an talk with another important personality, and I was looking at the video, which has been 1 day old. It has been shared by 14,000 people. And I was looking at a young boy, I mean, compared to me, he's a young one, 22, 23 years old, Indian origin boy, lives in Germany. He has become a YouTube sensation, and talking about, not about other kinds of issues, but talking about the issues which are important for the society, for the democratic values. And his, within 1 hour, it had gone up to 200,000 views. And his videos always goes up to 1.5 million views. Look at the difference, what has happened. Probably with this guy, who is, nobody would have noticed him till now, if this is the whole, this so-called the old way of media domination of the public debate would have been. But the social media has completely changed it, this dynamics. So of course it has a good thing, that we can really use this in a way, but it has also bad thing. Because you can really manipulate it, you can undermine it, you can misuse it, you can abuse it in a way if you want to. And it's not, the world is not that straightforward place. World is not a civilized place as we expect in Sweden people to behave. Of course, Sweden has become not exactly the way we expected it in some decades back. Things have changed, but the world has become much more rough place than what you can ever imagine. So I think it has been going on. The social media is also not anymore, not being under control. It is being changing, and I think the people are using it, abusing it to pursue a certain type of agenda. These are the important social media sites which you can see. Of course, these are the members which are active users. Look at the number. It comes from the. If you look at the Facebook company, probably taking off half of the world's social media comment. These are the active users. But if you look at the number, you go down. The Twitter has 335 million. It's not exactly a big one in the context of all the social media sites. It's one of the lowest ones. I'm talking about active users, but it has quite a lot of significance because of its political value. Because of Twitter is a big player in the political discourse, and I will come to that. So just wanted to show you this picture. Because Twitter has become a prime social network of political messaging. And as I said, of course, we make, the Facebook, WhatsApp, all these things we use for other purposes. There's lots of other purposes. But Twitter is mainly used for the political, social purposes, socio-political issues. The tweet, how many of you have the Twitter account? Oh, wow, that's quite good. So, at least many more than mine in my farm. So it used to be 140 characters, but 7th November 2017, it became 280 characters. And 280 characters is a little more than what it used to be if you remember that 140 characters. So it's able to express a little bit more, but it's still certainly enough to hit on your face what you are getting at. In 2017, a study found out 276 head of states and government, foreign ministers, in 178 countries, presenting 92% of the UN member states. They were using it, they have a Twitter account. Political leaders like Trump, he's a political leader or not, but at least he's a president of the country, United States. He has 58.2 million. Of course, Obama has much more, but Obama is not anymore. So 58.2 million Twitter users. The second one, who is in power in the Twitter ring, how many of you had a guy called Modi? Fantastic. That's what I was expecting. None, isn't it? Modi is India's prime minister. He represents 1.3 billion people on the whole stage. And in India, the whole thing goes on that Modi has put India on the world stage. India has become a superpower. The question is, whenever I ask my students how many of you really can recognize Modi, because I was once giving a lecture in my class to the master students in peace and conflict, showing them the BRICS leaders pictures and told them to recognize the faces. None of them could recognize Modi. I'm very happy about that. I will tell you why. Because I think it's a myth which is going on, because that's that as if he has become a world leader. This is all kinds of stories are being, at least being given to the Indian people, those who have absolutely no way of finding out what is going on. Anyway, but he has the 45.5 million Twitter users. Trudeau, who is just now supposed to be a secular, the liberal face of the world leadership, 4.45. Pope Francis, I don't know whether it talks quite a lot of politics these days, 17.9 million. They used to tweet. These are the people who tweet quite a lot. In Sweden, we have Carl Bildt. He used to be the prime minister, then he became a foreign minister. He has he also tweets quite a lot, almost 500,000, more than 500,000. Margot Wallström, our foreign minister, she uses Twitter quite often as well. So there have been also in Sweden, the Twitter has been used by the different political actors. So Twitter has been a successful medium for political messaging, but it has issues. It encourages impulsive, off-the-cuff comments. It depends on what time you are, how you are using it. Of course, who is using it for you? Like Trump wants to tweet himself, and being Trump is Trump, you don't know. It comes up impulsive, off-the-cuff ones. So I think that creates challenges for it. But of course, he uses for its own political purposes. It also creates needless conflict, because if you are in the Twitter things, giving a political comment, if politically loaded, then of course creates conflicts which you could avoid. Often publishes words which are not appropriate, because sometimes even people use the words with, because of the now auto check goes on, and the computers and the telephones are much faster than our mind thinks. They think that what we should think, and they put the words which we should not do, and that's what also creates challenges for particularly people like us. Even it's much more important for political leaders to do that. So of course, many of these political leaders, probably except Trump, they don't use their Twitter account themselves. The Twitter account is used by professionals. When I want to talk about, I think you all discuss, we all know how Trump is attacked in Twitter, okay? Trump is Trump, but his Twitter thing makes headline news all over the world. This is something which I've mentioned to you in the beginning, that India, of course, not as powerful country as the United States is. But compared to population-wise, India is huge. And it's a 1.3 billion. As I said, it's the largest democracy, quote-unquote, state in the world. And it also has a regional power, and it has a superpower, and being a superpower ambition. The question is always this has been going on. Who is good or who is better between Trump and Modi? These questions, many people have written, including myself. I always find, because you have never heard of Modi, but Modi is also a very difficult character. As he is much worse than for the Indian democracy than Trump could ever be for American democracy, to put it that way. And there is a reason behind it. And I think put in one single sentence why the reason behind it, when the journalists asked me that the democratic institutions in the United States are much stronger than the democratic institutions in India. The civil society is much stronger in the United States than the civil society in India. So even if Trump wants to destroy American democracy, it has the resilience to stand up to him. Whereas the Indian democracy, Indian democratic institutions are not exactly that much strong to withstand the undemocratic characteristics, undemocratic attacks by the Prime Minister. And I think just to put it in that way, that is what is happening. But coming back to this is even the highest news, that's not the Indian one. They think Modi might be the only world leaders which Twitter uses more problematic than Trump's. We all have heard about the Trump. We have never heard about the Modi. And of course, if we have not heard about the Modi, we will never heard about his Twitter problem. So he is the This is the guy, it's of course by the opposition party, so I must say that this is the image which has been created by the opposition party in the institution. But these are the people, he is supposed to be the Maharaja or the emperor of the tweeters in India. General Narendra Modi and his troll army, so he has an army of Twitter trolls. The journalist who writes about, I think she is Swati Chaturvedi. She is a journalist based in Delhi. She has done a huge work on the trolls which are controlled by Modi and his party, who is right-wing, Hindu right-wing party. Let me put that way. India is a population of 1.3 billion. 80% population are Hindus. The 14.53% are Muslims. There are 2% Christians, 2% Sikhs, and the rest. Okay. India used to be a secular country, or India is a secular country technically, constitutionally. The last 5 years, Modi is in power. He represents the Hindu fundamentalist party, which he thinks that India should be declared as a Hindu Rashtra or a Hindu state. Instead of being a secular state, his party believes that it should be a Hindu state. When I say that, of course, Hinduism has a serious differences who belongs to that kind of upper caste, lower caste, untouchables, that's a very, and the indigenous population, that's a very different problem within the Hinduism. But immediately the ideology is living out 20% of India's population, and if that 20% is left out, that 20% is actually 300 million or 260 million. 260 million, you might count your 26 times of Sweden, okay? That is the number of the populations which are being left out in this whole idea. So it is, the party in India now is in power. It's I don't know which political ideology you belong to, but to be a rough version of the Swedish Social Democrats. Swedish Sverige Democrats. The Sverige Democrats, the SD party is much rougher version. So you can imagine what kind of political space India is struggling with. So I just wanted to give you a little bit, and he is the leader of that party. Anyway, Swati Chaturvedi, who's investigated books, she brought out a book, and I think a few months back she got a prize by the Reporters Without Borders in Paris as a brave journalist, because she is the one who has brought out this story in the beginning, that how the Modi's camp, or the BJP, his party called BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party, that's what uses the trolls. Modi openly promotes trolls. He even invites the trolls to his house for tea. Those who are openly abusive, they use all kinds of, this is somehow, they openly use death threats, they openly use the rape threats, they openly celebrate the killing of journalists, those who have been opposing this politics. So all these kind of things, he brings them, he invites them to the Prime Minister's house for tea. This is New York Times following the Twitter feed titled Nasty Post. So this is the New York Times even brought out a story that how Modi is using misusing the trolls to attack his opposition. This is the BBC story. Why does Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi follow trolls on Twitter? He follows around 2,200 people. Out of that, of course, there have been some political leaders, there are some world leaders, but several of them, those who are, these troll gang leaders. They have a small gang, troll gang leaders. they completely, they have totally misused the whole space, the social media space. They abuse everyone, whoever comes openly, and these are the people who he follows. He has only unfollowed one person in his Twitter life, and that's a woman, only person to follow, a woman doctor, lady doctor. She is the one who brought out a complaint against another troll gang leader that she, that person misbehaved with her. So that's the only person who he has unfollowed. He, in spite of all the discussions, debates, demands by the opposition party, he still keeps following these Twitter accounts, which you will be totally surprised. If you really look at these Twitter handles, you will see why a country's prime minister, or even forget about why anyone in the world will ever follow these kind of Twitter handles. So this is what happens. Why I did it? Let me come back to my experience. As I said, I came here without very little, with very little knowledge about this kind of, and then the social media came in front of me. I was completely out of it. But then I created a Facebook account to connect old friends and family, because I moved for different parts in my academic life. Then I came here, so I had lost out my friends, so I tried to do it. That time a PhD student, now he's kind of almost a senior colleague now, so he persuaded me in 2009, 10 years back, to open a Twitter account. He just forced me to open it. I just opened it and I forgot it, because I didn't know how to use it, to be honest. I have recently opened some Instagram, YouTube account as well, but I don't know. I'm not a technological person. I don't know how to use it, you know. But for the last 3-4 years, I'm primarily using the Twitter. I have around 30,000 followers. I think it's 30,000 plus now. So I have 30,000 now. So it's, I think, but I used to be, 100, 200 when I started with the academic posts. These are all the Indian Twitter accounts, most of them, those who I've got. So my Twitter profile has very little to do with my academic profile. So my Twitter profile is to mostly to be engaged in Indian politics, but also in global sometimes, but mostly to the Indian politics now. And I think, frankly, I must make this admission, though I have been lived here more than I have lived in India, because I have been here now 27 years, India 26 years. But I think I understand Indian politics more than anywhere else. And that's where I think I can't really, I'll tell you why, but I can't really actively participate in the Swedish politics the way I can do it in the Indian politics the way I play. I came from a political background. My father was a politician. My great-grandfather, both paternal, maternal, and even great-grandfather, they were freedom fighters. You know, we call it freedom fighters. They were fighting against the British colonial roots. So I grew up in a political environment. I had also a political active student life. Even the Indian politics is very dynastic. When my father was when my father was there, people were expecting me to become a politician. But when he died 24 years back, I decided that's not my cup of tea. I can't really be in active politics. So I tend to do research. I've been doing it, and I always try to keep my research and interest different from my political interest. When I came here, I don't do research on Indian politics. I stay out of it because I know that I have a very strong views about Indian politics. So I didn't want to dilute my scientific temper in my research. So my research is more on the environmental issues, the water issue, all over the world. I try to look at it in all kinds of issues, migration, racism, all these things. But I always try to stay out of Indian politics while doing my academic research. And of course, I was following Indian politics quite closely. I can watch the news for 24 hours. That, I think people think I'm crazy, but I can keep on listening to the news for 24 hours every day, and I will feel happy about that. So I was always keeping that. But talking to media, I mean, of course, when I started doing my postdoc, I came here for my postdoc in Sweden, to Department of Peace and Conflict Research. And my first research, my postdoc project was looking at the migration from Bangladesh to India. Okay, so that was my postdoc project. And that time I talked to media and journalists, particularly in Bangladesh. And I was writing in the media in Bangladesh. And it was quite interesting that time. Of course, when you are new, you want to talk to the journalist, you think, whoever wants to listen to you, and you also want to see you being printed on the newspapers all over. So when I was writing on Bangladesh, India, I got into trouble by the security agencies, by the intelligence agencies, both in India and Bangladesh. I'm talking about the 93, 94. Many of you were not probably born by then. So I was threatened by the Indian intelligence that if I continue to write in the newspaper and the media, they will, I'll get into trouble. But I don't want to get into the details of it. So I stayed out of it for many years. The reason was, of course, because you are the media students, you need to realize my research was partly accepting what India was saying and partly accepting what Bangladesh was saying that time. But also partly negating what India was saying and partly negating Bangladesh was saying. So when I was talking to media, both in India and Bangladesh, they were picking up what exactly they want to take, and the other side they were not. Means the ones which are suitable to the Bangladeshi audience, Bangladeshi media will print that and take out the rest half which is critical of Bangladesh's stance. And when Indian intelligence looks at it, they get crazy. So the question is, when you are talking to media, you need to ensure that you give the full story and you look at that the full story gets published. Otherwise, you write something in a critical piece or somehow put a rejoinder that they have not really carried the whole story. And this is what I was not aware of. That's what I got into trouble. So since -- mid-90s, I stopped writing in the media because I realized that this is not really getting in. So I completely engaged in my academic research. What happened? As I said, I used to follow it, but of course I was extremely worried or somehow angry that India is moving in a wrong direction. India is taking a right-wing path. India is becoming a Hindu country or Hindu upper caste mindset country. And I think that was making me angry. I realized this is going to be a problem. I have discussed with several people the way the present Prime Minister was before even he gets elected, because it was lots of sign was coming that he will get elected in the 2014. But I was still angry with myself. I was not able to express itself because I stopped writing anywhere. I was not even using any social media. I was staying out. I was in Nepal in 2015, October, November. And that was for an evaluation I was doing evaluation for the DFI, the British government had given money to different agencies in South Asia to spend on the climate change conflict issues. Okay? So I was interior of Nepal trying to look at where the money has been given by the British agencies and the Dutch agencies to look at it, how they have done. So just to doing a report for them. And Nepal, I remember, went through a huge earthquake in mid 2015, April or May sometimes in that. So huge earthquake, thousands of people died. That was after that I went there in October. When I went there, the Nepal was, do you know where Nepal is? Nepal is a Himalayan kingdom that was just north of India, okay? So Nepal is a landlocked country. The north side of Nepal is Himalayan mountains. The south side is India. So Nepal is virtually dependent on India for anything whichever goes to Nepal. The Prime Minister Modi, he was angry with Nepal for various reasons, but one of the reasons was Nepal was the only Hindu country in the world, but Nepal got a new constitution which changed it to secular one. So there is also other reasons which changed, but what he did, he put a blockade. So there was no goods could go from Indian side to Nepal side. Without that, Nepal was suffering like anything. So when I was traveling for 10 days within Nepal, Nepalis were actually struggling with their lives much worse than they had actually recovered from the devastating earthquake, but they are suffering because of this Modi's megalomanian politics. And that is the time I thought it's enough. I can't just keep quiet. I mean, of course I'm not going, I'm a small fry in this whole thing. But we have to stand. We have to say something. This cannot go on. So while I was doing my study, I wrote a piece and I sent it to news organizations in India, and I wanted them to publish it because I didn't want to even come back to Sweden and change my mind. I was angry that time and I wrote a piece. And since then, I have written almost more than 150 pieces in the Indian media. So this is where I changed again from the 90s, early 90s, that was a different thing, but then this whole thing really changed. This was completely devastated. In 2014, when Modi became the Prime Minister, he went to Nepal, he got the best possible welcome any leader can get, because he was supposed to be a Hindu leader, okay? And then within months, the whole thing changed. He was the most hated man in Nepal. So things can change for the politicians quite a lot as well. But anyway, this was really put me to write on this, that this is where I can take it anymore. So there are sometimes things changes and makes you to come back. Facing troll attacks, since then, after writing in the Indian media, I started also using the Twitter. And that's where I got into the organized troll attack. I stopped using Facebook because when I put the things in the Facebook, because Facebook I have friends and family members. And when the attack comes in, it's very vicious, it's very personal, it's abusive. So I don't want my family members back home and my friends, with a close friend, to see that how I'm being humiliated or attacked or targeted. I don't have the strength to take it. So I just don't use the Facebook. But the Twitter one, which I use quite often. I comment on racism or religious fundamentalism and Indian politics often. And most of the troll attacks comes from the BJP, the Hindutva gang, right-wing trolls. By the way, I'm a Hindu and also I'm an upper caste guy. So it's not that I have something, so I belong to them. So that's also, technically I belong to them. So that makes it much more complicated for them to attack me in many ways. Sometimes trolls of sports person and Bollywood personalities also attack me, because I will give you the reasons why they do, but they are also belong to somehow this kind of right-wing framework. Sometimes even the ultra-nationalist trolls from here in Sweden, they targeted. One evening they came to me, oh, there was an attack I was facing from the Indian trolls and the Swedish trolls. Indian trolls wanted me to go to Pakistan and live there because I'm I'm anti-Hindu there. And the Swedish trolls wanted me to go from Uppsala and move from Uppsala and live in Malmö. So you can imagine how the framing takes place, okay? So this is, I said, hey, I'm fine in my Uppsala house, so I don't want to move anywhere, neither to Pakistan nor to Malmö. But this is where the attack takes place. Just before September 2018 election, there was a huge increase. But this, before I moved there, the Modi came to Sweden last year in April. It was a huge thing in here. Just look at it. You don't know about Modi, but when Modi came here, all the prime ministers of all the Scandinavia, the Nordic countries, came here to meet him. He came here for one night, one day, and that day, all the prime ministers of Nordic countries, 5 Nordic countries, came here to meet him for a few hours. Why? Has anyone asked this? Why Swedish Prime Minister went with Modi when Modi was talking to or giving a speech to the Indian diaspora here? You know who the diaspora? Indian immigrants like me. Don't forget, the Indians are in 2000, I haven't seen the 2018 figure, 2017, the largest number of migrants coming to India, I'm talking about the work migrants, coming to India from any other country is Indian. There are in 2017 figure, 9,500 got the residence, a permanent residence and work permit to come to Sweden, whereas the next in the line in Thailand, 2,000 something, China third, 1,000 something, Ukraine fourth, 1,000 something. So imagine Indians have come 9,000 something. So it's a huge number for Indians have come now. I'm happy that I can get my Indian food, but it's up to you, okay, to draw your own conclusion. But when Modi came, he always goes to any foreign country, he gives a speech to the Indian living in that country. And when he went there, even our Swedish Prime Minister went with him, which is absolutely unthinkable. Why he did that? Think about it and tell me if you find an answer. I know why they did it, but I'm not going to tell you. Okay, if you can find out, that's fine. But look at this. There is a lot of things which also happens where we people have no clue. It's a political elites how they behave. Just before September 2018 election in Sweden, we also saw a huge increase in the Twitter. By the way, before that, that's lots of Twitter troll attack was taking place for me before Modi came in. There was also the Indian community wanted to outcast me. You know what is outcast in Indian term? Because we belong to a caste, then we have to be outcast because people will not be, because, what is there any Swedish word for that? Do we ever do that in Sweden? I don't think so. I mean, you always boycott somebody, okay? So you belong to this class, but we don't talk to you, you don't sit near to you, you don't deal with you. That's kind of things which they do. So they told that, this guy is not exactly the Indian, so he should be boycotted or he should be outcast. So, yeah, I just responded, I'm the first untouchable in India, so in Sweden, so because Sweden doesn't have the untouchability practice, so they made me untouchable. But I was very happy about that. Anyway, so then, so we are seeing this kind of attack to troll attacks, which is quite a lot in the just last 6 months or 7 months of the last year because of various reasons. What provokes these people to troll, or why they do it? When particularly against me, a fact or a data which proves their fake information which they are trying to spread wrong. If you say that, look, Pakistan and Bangladesh are doing better than India on the Human Development Index or Giving Index or whatever, Happiness Index, they get so mad because they can never think, because Pakistan and Bangladesh are Islamic country, okay? So a Hindu country, quote unquote, India can never be less than Pakistan and Bangladesh. So if you just give them a fact, they go mad. Historical facts, because these guys, they are saying India used to know, I mean, imagine India's Prime Minister says that Indians knew how to do all the scientific medical surgeries, I don't know, 5,000 or 10,000 years back. This is what he says publicly. So if you say you are wrong, this was not there. Indians had built a 35-kilometer bridge on sea to connect Sri Lanka. I don't know how many years back, 5,000, 10,000, not 5,000. It should be, 50,000 somehow. Because it's mythology. Nobody knows exactly when this time is supposed to be. There's nothing history, nothing there. So it's just kind of imagination is creating. Imagine, look at now you see a science fiction movie, we all die somehow. There is a new life comes to this world. They get hold of our science fiction story and they tell that, look, the world was this many thousands of years back like that. This is what is happening. There are two big mythology which India has. One is Ramayana, another is Mahabharata. They have very interesting stories. As a kid, I used to love this because I didn't have possibility. There was nothing to read, so we used to get this kind of religious mythologies, and it has all the science fictions in it. So we used to love it. But that to use it as a history, use it as a fact, that's what this the Hindu supremacy groups, they're doing it. And then you say that, look, this is wrong. It was never there. If you say that, they get mad. Indians, cow, beef, cow urine, and cow dung. This is another thing. Cow is supposed to be, or cow is by this Hindutva gang, is considered as the mother. It's okay to a certain extent, okay? But to make it as a philosophy, it's really disturbing. You might have heard that the Indians are vegetarians, isn't it? You always think that Indians are vegetarians. Because you meet people, those who are vegetarians. Like this, several of them upper caste Hindus which come here. But they are only 10 to 20%. 80% of Indians do eat non-vegetarian food. I can survive, I'm an upper caste, but I can survive a single meal without eating non-veg food. I also think I'm a Hindu. So, but this is what the situation is. So because they have created cow as a symbol to attack minorities. Because the Muslims and Christians eat cow or eat beef. And this is where the thing is that if you call it, then you easily target another one. So the cow, beef, if you say that, look, cows are, they're supposed to be, you don't take it that seriously. If cow is your mother, who is your father, if I may ask? And then they got really mad. This is where if you ask these kind of logical questions, they usually go out of their mind. Cow urine. This is a fashion now, to drink cow urine every morning. Can you believe it? I mean, being an Indian, I can't believe it either. And these morons are doing it. And this is where cow urine can cure cancer. And all these guys spread all over. The cow urine can cure cancer. All of them have got cancer now, and they all go to United States to get the treatment. This is where I think they were pulling people, and where you tell them, look, You have been telling us that a cow urine can cure cancer. Why all of you, all these your ministers and others going to United States to get into American good hospitals to get treatment? Why you are fooling people? That's what they get mad. The cow dung. Can you believe that the cow dung is said that it can protect the country, protect the people from radiation? You use the mobile phones. So you are not supposed to put it here, but then if you use with the cow dung, you cover it with the cow dung, it will not make any kind of problems to you. This is what is being told to the people. And that's where you see, this is where, if you tell them this is wrong, this is not fact, this doesn't really, there is no scientific reasons to say this, then they go mad. Then, the Modi, the Prime Minister, he has a couple of fake degrees. He has a degree called, have you ever had a degree called entire political science? A master in entire political science. Have you ever had a degree in any time in your life? He has a master in entire political science. And we said that there is no degree in this world which is called master in entire political science, then they go crazy. Then, he has a wife, but he didn't tell that he has a wife till 5 years back. He has a wife for more than 35 years. And he has left the wife after marriage. And the wife is still alive. And if you tell this, the country goes worse. His supporters go mad. These are the things which I think makes this kind of troll attack. Look, this is one of the, I will just show you a few stories of this is one, his Man Friday to the president of BJP. He said the Bangladeshis are termites. Okay? He gave a speech saying that, you know termites? In Sweden we don't have, it's too cold termites, but at least you know. Termites are those who can eat up the whole thing, the small ones. So the uninvited guests, those who ruin your furniture, house and all these things. So when he said, I just put a figure. Per capita, Bangladesh is growing 3 times more than India. Bangladesh is live longer than India. Infant mortality, more poverty in India than Bangladesh. That was, you can see how I was being attacked. 2,303 comments that how Bangladesh can be better than India. Last summer, I was in New Jersey, New York for my research. I was going out to eat my, New Jersey has a lot of Indian area. I went there. I saw in the, in Indian, Little India or the Indian ghetto, they have put a photograph there. I just wrote that, I didn't want to go there. I can't eat in a restaurant which openly displays that megalomaniac's photograph on, and particularly the diaspora when they do that in other country. You are in United States, there is no reason you have to display the Indian flag and the bigoted prime minister. So I didn't go. I just went to another restaurant where there is no photographs. I ate my sweet dish or the what you call the after, okay? And you can see I'm still being attacked. It's a huge attack that took place of these things. I'm just showing, but then they go on to the other frame. I could just retrieve all these things. This is something. There is a temple near to my house, village where I grew up. They say that the Muslim invaders destroyed all the Hindu temples. But this temple was destroyed by one Hindu worshipping people by another Hindu worshipping people. So when I put this, then it got attacked. This is Indian, Indians play cricket. You know that cricket is a game? You know that? Yeah. The Indians mad about cricket. India is absolutely a country has very little to do with the sports, but they are superstar in cricket, at least they think so. He is the cricket captain. And he is a superhero in India. And his wife is a Bollywood actress, quite a good one. And they are also sometimes, they are quite motivated with this Modi ideas. So anyway, he was giving it, so I just tried to make a story that don't try to, you don't have the guts to stand up against Modi, don't try to tell the people how they should behave. This is where you could see there is a massive problem again. This was another Indian cricketer. He was trying to say that he was commenting against Pakistan's one of the most loved cricketer. So I just wrote, because while I was doing study I was in Kashmir Valley, I hope you know Kashmir, I'm not going that to detail, because in Kashmir, I said a few years back, I had gone to a shop which was selling wall posters of cricketers in a village. I didn't see any of these Indian cricketers posters, but I saw most of the posters were of that Pakistani cricketers. And then I got into quite a lot of attack, and which is true story. Actually, I went there, I was looking for, but the Kashmiris don't really buy the Indian cricketers' photograph, they buy the Pakistani cricketers' photograph. This is something. The tweet, you tweet, these days you don't need to talk to the journalist, you just tweet, then you see that within minutes they go to the newspapers, all the newspapers publish it. But sometimes you like that these tweets gets wider publicity, but sometimes you get into trouble. This is a tweet which was taken up by the Pakistani media. The Pakistan's main anchor, TV anchor, his name is Hamid Mir. He had this prime time television debate. He used 7 to 10 minutes to debate on one of my tweets. And that was somehow in 11th or 10th December. Last year, there's a few months, couple of months back. And I was going to India a few weeks after. So I was damn scared. And my friends were scared because what will happen? So you have to be very careful. I was in 2 weeks of India. Nobody knew where I was. I never told anyone where I'm going. Nothing. Because that's what I try to save myself and my family. I can't otherwise. So you need to see that what's going on. It has a price to pay as well. Am I taking long? No. You can stop me anytime, okay? So I'm just, I've never given this lecture, so I have all these things, so but just stop me whenever I can, or if you don't follow things, then we can discuss this. When the troll attacks takes place, they attack are full of hyperbole. They don't really want to discuss with you. They personally target you. The usual terrible spelling, they cannot write loser, they have to always use a double O, all kinds of things. They don't know how to write. Wrong grammar all the time. Most common one, they call me Swain. It's a Swain. My last name is S-W-A-I-N. This is not an Indian last name. Because my type of people, or my last name type of people, we come from a state which is one of the poorest and one of the smallest states in India. Of course, 45 million people live there. And that's something, they couldn't spell my name, our colonial masters, Britishers, couldn't spell my name. They gave me a Swain last name, which had nothing to do with it, but just colonial masters couldn't do it. Because this is actually a Scottish last name. Swain, yes. So you see quite a lot of Swains in Scotland and in the United States. So they're always confused, anyway. And that's why they call me a rice, because some people, those who have no idea, they call me that I am a convert, because I have been converted to Christian, because the Christian last name is there. But Ashok Swain, there's a preferred use word is a Swain. So if you check the Twitter, there are more Ashok Swains you will find than Ashok Swain. They call me a Pakistani agent, which is the worst one to be in India. There have been lots of articles written that how I work for Pakistan intelligence agencies. I've never been to Pakistan. Neither I need money to get it from. Pakistan is having a serious economic problem. At least Sweden has a much better salary than I can expect from the Pakistani agents to pay me. Why I will, I mean, what is the point? But I'm a preferred way of, I mean, you will see probably there have been several articles have been written how I work for Pakistan. A Chinese agent. As you are saying, I have been known as an urban Naxal. There are quite a number of people, but I'm as urban, I think I'm the only one outside country who is called as an urban Naxal. Naxal means the Maoists, okay? The urban Maoist. Yes, I've written a book on the Maoists, but I'm not a Maoist. I have nothing to do with the Communist Party. I've never been, you know, there is absolutely, I'm a left to the center liberal guy, to put it in that way. But this is the kind of branding they do. They call me an Italian agent. You know Italian agent. Why they call it Italy? The Congress party leader is an Italian-born lady who was married to former Indian Prime Minister. So, and also Italy is a pope, the Christian land, so I am supposed to be a convert, so I am an Italian agent. A commie, a communist, a congi, a congressi, because they are from Congress party. So these are, you know, these are the things which they put, and lots of them, because I don't want to use this, because it's anything you say, they try to give a branding. Nasty, abusive comment to me and my family all the time. I try to keep it. My wife has a Twitter account, but she's a professor here, but she doesn't use my last name, because they will say if my last name there will be a lot of attacks on her. And I never ever put my kids, I have 2 kids, never ever their photograph or their information or they even exist in my social media space. So just keep them up. Because it's quite difficult. I mean, my daughter 3-4 years back when she was 12, she was looking at the tweet I was reading and she couldn't believe that the people could abuse her father like this. And she got into a depression mode for a few days. So I never showed her anymore my tweet or what it comes. Even my father died 24 years back. There are wild allegations they bring up against my father. I mean, this is absolutely, you won't believe that, and that's what hurts. Because he hasn't done anything to deserve this for my stupidity or quote unquote my open frontal whatever to be a party to this. So I felt sad. I always feel sad when they attack my father. That's the only soft spot I have. When they attack my father, I felt really bad because he's dead. He's not there that I can even explain to him. Abstract threats are quite common, always threats. They usually threat tag it to the Uppsala University rector. Quite a lot. I have never heard from them. They also write a lot of signature campaigns. They send to our university that why they have employed such a stupid or an idiot or whatever in the faculty. So that's what they do. They also write to UNESCO because I'm a UNESCO chair. And they also tag to the Director General there. Nobody has asked me from UNESCO. So I think I'm safe till now from these guys at least. But they also threat of violence, death threats, quite common. The one thing is I try to not to take it seriously because I'm living in Uppsala where it will be difficult for these morons to come here. But to be honest, when I'm in Stockholm, I try to look around. In Uppsala, I'm a bit more free. I can go around, but in Stockholm, I always looking around. If I'm going to an Indian restaurant, I've stopped going to the Indian diaspora get-togethers. No, complete. But I go to the Indian because I want to eat sometimes some food. So when I go to an Indian restaurant, I try to look around that I'm sitting safely from a safe distance from other people. So this is the way you try to do it. But because there have been a lot of attacks. If I would have been in India, I probably wouldn't have dared to do these things or whatever I can write. If I would have been an employee in an Indian university, it's absolutely impossible to write what I write, what I tweet. Even many of my Indian friends, those who are professors in West Indian universities, they tell me what I should write for them because they cannot write in the newspaper because they of course provide me information, but I have to write. It's my name goes in, but I can do it because I have a protection, because my salary can not get affected, so I can pay my rent, I can live my life. So this is where I'm using as an advantage of living in Uppsala. How do I cope? Initially, I used to explain. I had less troll attack, but when you try to explain with these trolls, you get more abuse in return. Then you have to try to act with sometimes with humor, putting facts before their fictions, exposing their stupidity. But at the same time, I must tell, it's not that alone anymore. It used to be quite a lot, but now I also get a kind of support from anti-Hindutva gang trolls. So if I mention somebody, I take it somebody, look, this is wrong, then I don't need to do anything. There are few others, those who come in and protect me. Okay, so they take it up. So I have never seen them. I have never met them. But this is quite interesting that you pick up an argument, you just give them a tip, and then the others carry on. It's quite this social media scene is quite interesting. Someone who gives a name which looks like a non-Hindu name, and then gives like a Hindu or non-Muslim name. I'm not going to expose things, so that's what, because it's being taped. So I'm trying to. His name in the Twitter name is a non-Muslim name, because he interacted few times. He has been. I mean, there are several, and he has been also quite supportive anytime when he comes to. Then he needed to send me some information. When he sent me information, it was actually a Muslim name, because I got his email, and he explained that sorry that you saw my Twitter name is different than my name comes in, because that I appear. So there have been quite the minority are in fear. They can't really put this in their own name. So they usually support me, but at the same time, they are living in India. So you don't feel any more lonely in this kind of thing. Used to ignore death threats. There used to come a lot of death threats, but then I started reporting, because when it became more severe, then the people started getting killed in India. So there are attacks. There was a week I got 10 death threats. I don't tell it to my family. I don't discuss with my family, because that's what necessarily brings them attention. So I started reporting them to Twitter. Twitter also tried to take it out, a few of them. There have been some of the tweeters like, this is quite a Twitter account I just want to show. There are few accounts I will show. This person, she started tweeting in a nice way, replying to me, and this was the tweet which, she's the president of two institutes, Harvard, Kennedy School of Government, whatever. So it looks quite impressive, but she was a pro right wing. Then somebody came sent me saying that this is a fake account. This is another account. This is actually the original account, that's a fake account. So look at this. But then this person said that she has two accounts. Then when I complained to Twitter, she has two accounts. One account is she has done, that's for her professional life. The other one is to troll and create all kinds of things. So if this is true, that this is the two accounts she is maintaining, one is for professional reasons, another is to abuse or somehow, she doesn't abuse in that sense, but I think she has been a total right-wing way of putting things which you don't think is acceptable. There's a guy I found out who was abusing my family, particularly my father. He has looked at how many accounts he has created. 6 in his name. So if you report one, the other one comes up. Of the 10 times he has 6 accounts in his name to attack this. This is one of the tweets. You should be beheaded. Okay? I just replied, Hindutva gangs, Jihadi Jan. You know Jihadi Jan? You know the guy, Jihadi Jan who was in ISS. So this was the, you should be beheaded. There is another one, Indian security forces, the pellet guns to be used against me. You know, the Indian security forces use the pellet guns in Kashmir. So, and they should put tie me in the vehicle. This is the guy who has written, he is white, a senior person, is very popular in the right-wing troll gang, and this is what the death threat coming of this nature. There are different times when I look at these people. They look quite civilized. You don't expect from them to get death threats or abuse. But these are the people I sometimes report. These are the things, Twitter accounts taken out. How you see this? Easy way to spot a member of the troll gang? A handle with a telephone number. I will say why. I will show you. A handle, write a Twitter handle with added with a telephone number, because that's what is their payment practice. So if you have a telephone number, the BJP, the Hindu party who is organizing it, they know how many tweets these guys are making, so they can count and they get the money. So per tweet, they get the money. Then a handle with the image of an angry Hanuman, monkey god. Monkey god, in India is a god who is a monkey face, okay? India has Hindus have 330 million gods, so one of them is quite famous one is the monkey god. And this god, as a Hindu, I've never seen his angry face. But now they have created an angry god, because he has become angry now because Hindus are in trouble, okay? So, I don't know, get this kind of fantastic ideas where they get. It's 80% of the country. They are in power for 70 years, controlling India's politics and economics, and they think they're in danger. How moronic you can be. But this is what they put this Hanuman's picture. A handle with the image of a cow or a saffron flag, that's the color of the flag there, and sometimes even with a national flag. I showed you before, there is this national flag. When I see these days with this angry Hanuman image, this national flag, this saffron flag, I block them. Because that's what I realize, these are the guys which I don't want to deal with them. Look at this guy. He has been a paid told to target me. Look at his Twitter handle. There's a telephone number. You see? Can you see that? Below that, Abhay Kumar, that's the Twitter handle. There is a telephone number with it. And then he has created an account, followed 9 people, written 2 tweets in his life, and these 2 tweets are against me. Just giving one example, okay? So he has created himself to tweet against me or tweet about me. Can you see the name of the tweet? That's the Twitter handle. So they created Ashok Swain Twitter handle. It used to be, when it was created, when I found out, he had 9 followers. The first follower of this Twitter account is the office of the present India's finance minister and railway minister. Can you believe it? India's finance minister's office is the first follower of this Twitter account. Means that the finance minister's office is either directly financing it or his office is dealing with this. Look at another tweet. This guy, Swain the pig, as if people don't understand what is the swine and what is the pig. The one person he is following, that's me. These are the accounts they create. These are the troll gang they create. I was telling you, if you look at more, swine will be there than Swain. Because you look at it, always this swine. They don't call me Swain. You know, that's the something which is, that's an easy way. But I think they don't have much imagination either. So it's an easy way somebody has started it this way. They are completely idiots. They have no imagination. It's such a boring to deal with them. You just get angry. You just get mad. But the thing is, that's the part of life. You have to survive with them, otherwise you won't be able to be in that field. This is what you see. Many of them said proud to be followed by Modi ji. Indians put the G in it's a respectable term. Many of these accounts also proud to be followed by Modi ji, the Prime Minister. What the Prime Minister has to do to follow these accounts, I have told you before. These are the people he follows. 2 of these troll leaders work for the Prime Minister's office. Their names they will never tell because they will. I tweeted about their names once. I just said that which 2 officers or 2 troll leaders work for the Prime Minister's office. Prime Minister's office, Indian taxpayers are paying money. It's working for the Prime Minister's office. They are managing the Twitter gangs, the troll gangs. Some famous personalities also guide troll attacks. Some films and sports personalities, they do it. I was showing you some of them. One of them even has created this tag or that Urban Nonsense. He's a film director. There are quite a former feminist. India had quite a famous feminist, and now she has become a ultra right-wing Hindutva fake news peddler. A Pakistani-born Canadian. There is a guy who was originally from Pakistan. He has moved to Canada. He's a Canadian citizen. And he's a Muslim. Because he's a Muslim, he's a critical of Muslims. The Hindutva gang has brought him from Canada to spread this, and he was also one of them. Another senior civil servant. Can you believe he's a very senior civil servant? I'm not using their name, neither you will be able to understand it, but this is the servant who is also very abusive. He's the one who always never has told me Swain. He always used the word swine. This is a senior civil servant working for the Indian government. I told you the investigative journalist Swati Chaturvedi brought out a book. It's called I Am a Troll, Inside the Secret World of the BJP's Digital Army. Many of these followed also by BJP president, which other than the Prime Minister and powerful ministers. Ashok Swain is the first follower, I was mentioning that before. So these are the things which are happening. What are my findings? I will go out quite soon because I think you need to differentiate between an organized troll and a lone ranger. When you are working there, when you are tweeting there, you are dealing with them, you better avoid this organized troll. A lone ranger, they might be aggressive, abusive, because they have a very strong view, they don't know how to express it. You probably sometimes want to deal with them. There are sometimes if you have time, but avoid this kind of organized troll gang. I have realized I block them. I mean, just see them on my timeline, I block them. Tweet only what you can defend. Whatever I have shown you, I always tweet. You tweet on the basis of facts, figures. You must keep a copy where you collect the facts, you keep that and you tweet that. If you cannot defend, don't tweet it. And particularly when you are you want to protect your own credibility. If you don't, give a different name, do whatever you want to. But when this thing is on my name, I need to do this whenever I'm using any kind of tweet. The figures I'm giving, I must have the credible information with me. I should keep it. Don't tweet something and delete it. Never delete the tweet. And that delete should be the last. Because several people immediately not think about it, just tweet it and delete it. Delete means the tweet doesn't go away. People can find it out. So if you can defend it, don't put the tweet. If you have put the tweet, try to defend it for heaven's sake. Don't delete it. Never delete a troll's comments or posts. Because you might feel bad, you might block them, you might mute them, but don't delete their posts. Because if you delete that, that's you showing that your vulnerability. Okay? Don't show them your vulnerability, whatever abuse it is, whatever it's a problematic it is. When it's a physical threat, one good thing is that I'm not a woman in this context. Women, social media people, they get much more abuse than we men get. It's extremely difficult to be a woman and to engage in this kind of activities. Unfortunately, that is the case. These guys are misogynist to the core. They use of course they sometimes use ref threats to me, but that's not exactly the way it sounds. This is what happens. So what I said in a sarcastic way, the good thing is that I don't really, but it takes away a lot of their misogynist. But I understand completely, there are several people, those who are really, women, Twitter handles, those who are active in this, they get much worse threat than I do. Of course, I have two, as I said, I have two advantages in this context. That I am not used to that kind of abuse like the people, or particularly my women colleagues in this brigade. The second thing is I live in a country which is much colder, much farther for these idiots to reach. So I think this is something which I do feel advantage in this case. As I said, to avoid huge traffic on my road, I sometimes in the morning I wake up, thousands of, it takes me 2 hours if I want to look at it, how many I have, in the 5 hours, 6 hours I sleep, thousands of the things. So you just go fast because otherwise you will spend the whole of your time on this. And then even you come from the below to see it, then by that time 300, 400 has already come. It's a very time-consuming affair. If you want to take a look, keep an eye on your Twitter account. So in many cases, you sometimes just avoid it. You cannot do it. Sometimes some attacks comes. Like take for example, yesterday I tweet something about an important magazine for which I used to write. Then I stopped writing because they changed the editor. So I just wrote because they brought out a story. The editor responded to it, being very critical of my tweet. because the new editor, I was critical of him. But I didn't see it because I was avoiding the tweet. So after 4 hours, I realized that another tweet that he has attacked me. So I needed to give him back. I can't leave that one. Because this is where the things have become. So you have to be careful how much time you can spend. It's a very time-consuming affair, to be honest. If you are doing it, you must have a permanent job. Your wife must have a job because you don't know when you will lose yours. But at the same time, and the kids have to be a little bigger because there's quite a lot of time you spend on this business. Follow one policy how to silence trolls. Don't have the different policies for different people because then you will get into trouble. You just keep a policy. If somebody abuses me, I will block it or mute it, who is there, or I will just ignore it. Just do that in circle. If somebody abuses my family, what I will do? If somebody abuses or sends this kind of threat, what shall I do? Just keep one policy for all the twists because otherwise you deciding sometimes what to do, so what not to do is also problematic, and you give a wrong message to your people. But they know that what exactly you are, whom you are blocking, whom you are muting, whom you are reacting. They know very well. So you have to be careful what you are doing and to use your time effectively. That's the way I do it. The most important thing is you have to be thick-skinned. If this attack affects you, as I said, only thing affects me is when they target my father, who is dead. I emotionally feel a little disturbed. Besides that, I just don't take it. It's absolutely fine, whatever they say. I just ignore completely. You have to be very thick-skinned to deal with this. If it affects you, forget it. Okay? Don't take it. Don't destroy your personal happiness. You don't take this kind of negativity upon you, because these people are there to smash you left and right. You don't take this. So you have to be completely thick-skinned that to do it. Otherwise, don't do it. You can see these are the Twitter accounts. I've blocked probably more than 2,000 Twitter accounts. And they keep coming. They keep coming all the time. So we just wanted to give you some pictures because how many flags are there? You look at the flag, the kind of things you will see. These are and the telephone numbers. This Hanuman, you see some god or this Hanuman. Second one is the Hanuman. So you can see all these kind of things. So you just block these guys. Thank you. I wish the trolls are that nicer. Any question?
We have about 10 minutes to ask questions.
I'm sorry to take it longer, but please.
Yes. So when you deal with these folks, you see that they are following you. Like, they're constantly following you.
Yeah.
But there's also, I don't know how to say it. It was just more like, you notice that most people that troll you are your followers as well?
Yes, several of them followers, several of them not. It's always, you always try to also see if you block a follower, you lose one follower. Okay? So I think, but then you can't really, then you can mute them if you don't want to lose your followers. But they will get it. There are some people, those who follow you, and they usually make a comment, and they, as I said, another troll gang leader, which gives them a whistle. We call it a kind of indication that you need to go after this guy. So once they put it, suddenly the people come from nowhere and start attacking you. So it's even if you block them, which we do, that doesn't mean that you are going out of you block them or mute them, they will find it out. So, but there are several of them follow you. I mean, that's what they want to do, because they want to follow, get it directly, and they want to also tweet against it, so they get their money. So if you create a tweet, you get more money from the BJP, the IT cell, than you retweet it or you like it. So if you get from me one thing, then you can create a message of your own, then you get more money. They keep changing the price different, so I don't know exactly how much price. But I'm so happy sometimes, because the Indians have a huge job problem now. So at least I give some employment to some people. So I'm not in that way quite, I think that some people are getting employment. As long as they're using it for employment, it's fine with me. So, but they should not really get ideologically stigmatized. Yes, please.
Yeah, so to what extent do you think that these tactics to actually affect the public opinion of you or the opinion of your followers effectively?
That's a very good question. We don't know. It's, of course, it has two sides to it, why I do it. One side is, I feel that I'm helpless. I cannot be directly taking part in the political space, because I live here, I'm too engaged here, or not that brave enough to leave my job and jump into Indian politics. At the same time, I started writing and started tweeting to express myself. It's also to feel that I mean, to get my anger, my frustration out of me, but at the same time, I also believe that I'm trying to push a certain kind of, you can call it agenda, or certain kind of views into the space, the public debate. There are some times which you find it works very fast, because we keep on writing. I mean, I have written probably 15 to 20 books written and edited in my life. I've written probably 150 articles. And when you see that in the ResearchGate or academia, you see how many they read. Of course, I get quite a lot of people reading it, but if you write a piece in the newspaper or on the website, you suddenly realize that has more read than all my life's writing in the academics. I will give you an example. 2016, there was an attack on an Indian army camp in Kashmir, where the militants allegedly came from the Pakistan side and attacked the army camp, which had actually hosted me some years back. That army camp had given me lunch and my family lunch. So it was actually, I knew personally that army camp. So they attacked this and 16 or 17 army soldiers died. That is the time Indian Prime Minister, this Modi, started threatening that it will stop the water flowing to Pakistan. Because as for an Indus River, have you heard that Indus River, big river, which goes from the Himalayas, goes from the Indian side of the Kashmir, then goes to Pakistan. Pakistan is totally dependent on this, but it goes through the main rivers, or three of them goes through Kashmir side, which is Indian control. As for an agreement since 1960, India is supposed to leave that water to Pakistan. But the Indian Prime Minister said that it will stop. So I woke up in the morning, read the news, I wrote a piece for the Indian journal. Immediately it got published. Within hours, it got hundreds of thousands spread. It took up all over because I was right, because I'm also a water researcher, so I know exactly what I'm saying. I said it's impossible because in spite of all these kind of hype, Pakistanis were getting nervous, all these things, but Indians cannot do it. It's a technically not possible, legally not possible, practically impossible. Okay? So this is, I gave the reason, wrote a 800, 900 or 1000 words piece, and it covered by all over the world, and also changed the debate in India. Because they realized that this is this is a fake. This is not going to happen. They cannot really do it. This is just a kind of. So there are some times which you think that you are making you change the debate, or sometimes you give important inputs to the debate. How much that will change the public mind, that we don't know. Is it that we are waging this social media war, the people are changing? That I don't know. But at least there are certain kind of possibility which had come. The right-wing Hindu domination of the India's social media space has broken. They don't control it anymore. This media space is equally being challenged by the secular, liberal value people. So we don't have given them the free space to control it. So in a sense, social media is not their control anymore, but how social media affects the people and the voting pattern, I don't know. Hopefully, yes.
Time for one last question. I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So when we read about, the thing is that in media studies, whenever we pick up a text and we start reading it as our textbooks or the literature, very often what happens is that, if we are getting something that is even 2018, it was written in 2016. So it goes outdated very quickly. So one of the descriptions of trolling that we have kind of seen people give as an explanation is that it is something that is basically manipulative to public discourse. So trolls come in, you're trying to have an argument, you're trying to put across a discussion, and the purpose of the troll is to make that discussion disappear by saying absurd, irrelevant, abusive things. But given this interesting presentation, I'm proposing a hypothesis, and I want to hear your opinion about it. That do you think this idea of the right-wing troll and the sympathetic secular troll, if they're both operating in conjunction, do you think that the trolls themselves are creating a meta discourse at another level where there is a discussion taking place? It's not ordinary language discussion, but there is a meta wave, at least in the social media sphere.
Yeah, I think there is a discussion which is probably the people will not don't care about. People have very little knowledge about. Look, yesterday there was something which is happening. The present government is saying after this Prime Minister came to power, there hasn't been any terror attack. I put a data yesterday from the American statistics, the US Homeland Security Department statistics. In 2016 and 17, because 2018 data is not available yet, the Indians are number 3 in terror attacks in the world after Iraq and Afghanistan. But this guy is saying that there was no attack. It doesn't really, what I say or what we started debating on this, it doesn't make big difference to the people, okay? Probably not. But it gives certain kind of ideas, because social media, what has happened in Indian media space in particular and the global media space in general is shrinking, okay? Because the regular media, because they don't have the money to put the people, they don't have journalists on the ground. Many of the news they are covering through the tweets or through social media. It's quite interesting, they don't really, because like Indian newspapers, those are based in Delhi or Bombay, they used to have the local representative, but they don't do anymore, because they expect the local media houses, somebody will tweet and they will get it. There's no point putting their person there. So there is a lot of social media influence on the overall media work. And I think, yes, certain debates are coming up in the social media circle, which influences the regular media and it probably filters to the people. You don't know what is exactly happening. Recently what happened, you know this Bollywood, Indian movies, the Bollywood stars, the guy, the Modi, the Prime Minister, to build his image before election in the last month, he invited groups of these popular Bollywood stars to come from Bombay or Mumbai now they call it, to visit Delhi and to take selfie with him. And when I did, I just thought that these guys are, I think, spineless cowards or something. Just because I was probably coming from my office, getting quite, I'm hungry. When I'm hungry, I'm angry, and then I look at it, I got to say, oh, these are spineless cowards. They always dream of being Hollywood, but they can never be because they don't have the spine like Hollywood. And then it got quite a lot of coverage. Then the journalists called me, they wanted a piece on this, they wanted to interview me. So it went like this. I had never thought that this comment, which I gave it in a very, because people are bit critical, but everybody is very awe of the Bollywood stars. So I was quite rough in a sense because I don't really watch any more much movies. So I just could say whatever I want to say. But I think you could see this is what going into the different space. So yes, it's a bit level which you don't know that this debate is going on in social media. But I am quite. There are lots of things which are happening. The regular media people and international media calls me on my tweet. They want the reflections on the tweet. And this is what I think, some things which I think it's beyond, maybe we shouldn't do it, but I haven't got a grasp yet what actually interests the regular media and what not. So you just throw things and then somebody might like something and comment. But one important thing I do in the social media, I don't keep any barrier. What I want to say, I say it. And I think that's the space which I have got. I don't have to be worried that it might make some people angry. I really don't want to think. Because frankly, I don't care.